he suggests for 1 year, Category 3 gets no water at all. There's an experimental period for 1 year to determine whether there's enough water to serve Categories 1 and 2. Category 3 would be in abeyance at that point in time. And then the commission is somehow going to look at the records after that period of time and to determine whether there's enough water for Category 3. And at that point, what do? If you need more water, are you going to amend the IFS again to take water out? Just intuitively, if you're going to adopt the 1 year standard to take a look at whether there's insufficient water, I think you need some flexibility at that time on water in the streams. To take out 4 million at Waihe, it just doesn't seem to make much sense if you're going to adopt a 1 year test period.
Chair, can I ask a question on the IFS? So basically, your objection said there's not enough data in the record for us to increase the IFS for Waihe. If the commission determines that the downstream use and the users need that level of water, isn't that enough for us to be able to increase the IFS just based on our determination of the downstream use in Waihe?
I wish it was that simple. To increase the IFS, you have to go through hearings. And that's one of the other problems we have in decreasing the IFS. You know, the code in section 7140 indicates to amend the INS, you need a collection of in-stream data to do it. You can't do it just because you'd like to increase the IFS. It has to go through a number of studies. And the record you have before you is a staff report on October 3rd, 2010, where that data was not collected. And you've got the record, which I cited in my exceptions, that the state did testify that was not done. They didn't do any stream investigation. So just to decrease and increase, we go back to a contested case, and we are ourselves in a bit of chaos to do that. So that's my concern with regard to Waihe. The record doesn't support it. The studies weren't done, and I believe at least for a year, maybe longer, you should look for some flexibility to make sure, especially if you're not giving any water to Category 3 for the first year. And the recommendation of the hearings officer is you evaluate that at the end of the first year, and then after the evaluation, you make a determination whether Category 3 should get any water. And if it's a deficit, where do you get the water from? And I think Avery might be able to tell you here, for 7 months a year, we have less water than a Q50. And 4 months, maybe we're okay. 7 months in this past year, maybe the past 2 years. Climate change has hit everyone, and it's hit the streams. And our point in that is to try to be a bit flexible with the users. The last element, in Obvious, of course, I was trying to integrate this stipulation that was before you this morning. And of course, we haven't read it, we haven't seen it. But the best I understand it is that the Mahi Pono is going to be decreasing its allotment from a 13.5 to 11.2. So that's about 2.3 more that would be in there. And of course, all of the numbers maybe have to factor into that. So it's very difficult to put the numbers together at this point in time as to what is really going to be needed to accommodate the permits that are out there. Permits are about 39.7 million gallons a day. Mahi Pono was allocated, I believe, 13.5. Now it's looking to allocate 11.2. That's my understanding of what we read this morning. So that'll be an additional 2.3 that will be available in the streams. And I think we ought to leave it into the streams until we see what happens. As Mr. Saracen was there, we've got other issues, and that gets me into the third issue that we're involved in, and that's the implementation. There was very little, if any, testimony in the record concerning implementation because it was not a subject matter of the contested case. It was in the decision and order, and it may have taken some of us by surprise. And you can break it into two components. The first component is water shortages. The second component is reporting. On water shortages, there is a legislative template and there's a rule template. You have rules under the code that allows the commission to declare a shortage. When it declares the shortage, then it adopts a plan for the shortage. After it adopts a plan, it determines what the plan is, what type of restrictions, what type of prohibitions, what kind of allocations to classes of users that go, and then it gives notice in the paper, notice to all parties to implement that shortage plan. The second part is in your rules, which more or less mirror the statute, except for one rule, it was 42C. And that rule indicates that all permit holders will have a water shortage plan. And that water shortage plan must be approved by the commission. I get a bit concerned if we have a water shortage and there's no advance idea of either the commission's plan or the permittee's plan. You're going to have approximately 80 people coming forward wanting you to approve a water shortage plan. That sounds like a rather chaotic situation. If you look at the decision and order on the implementation, you'll see an allocation of responsibilities to both Mahi Pono and to Wailuku Water Company. I think it's pages 529 and 530. Under paragraph 40, basically Wailuku and Mahi Pono are required to allocate water between the upstream users and the downstream users in an equitable fashion. Under paragraph 51, they're to do this with regard to three streams: Waihe, Waiehu, and Wailuku stream. Under paragraph 42, if there's a shortage between category 1 and category 2, Wailuku and Maui Pono is supposed to do an allocation as to what's reasonable. There's a lot of discretion, there's no standards, but these are basically requirements under those. Paragraph 50 basically indicates that Wailuku and Maui Pono have to basically identify the users and give a monthly report of the use. There are very few users that are metered. There's no mechanism to really calculate the use at this time. The problem with the implementation plan and the template from the statute is it's an improper delegation of obligations. These are obligations on the commission, and they shouldn't be allocated to a private party. The second part of that is a bit more cryptic. Problem is the decision and order is not only for the parties that are before it. We're going to have new users, as has been testified today. We're going to have additional pertinent right users. You're going to have additional people coming up for use permits. The decision and order is applicable to the parties. What is needed is a set of rules regulating the allocation of water to permittees under these four streams. And it should be done in a manner with